Jan Val Ellam is an acclaimed writer with an impressive body of work. He has published more than 50 books, as well as hundreds of truly unique essays. In this video, we will explore Jan Val Ellam's work and try to explain a little of what he brings us regarding the universal creation that we all live in. There is a reality that transcends our comprehension. We are unprepared to understand it, and the worst, our spirits, even after the death of our bodies, remain unprepared. The shock that the immediate perception of a complex spiritual reality will cause in all religions and in the human being is inevitable, yet it will eventually happen because it is necessary. To understand our past and its great consequence for us, which ends up being the isolation from other civilizations of the universe, it is necessary to accept that human beings live a double life. One that is temporary, that is, transient, and another that is eternal and pre-existing. One is directly inserted into the other, whether we are aware of it while we are incarnated or not. The temporary one would be, therefore, exactly the period in which we are now, where each of us is born, exists, and dies, in a world. We can say that although the physical body prevails throughout our lives on earth, the capacity of the spirit is much greater. However, our spiritual capacities, for some reasons that we can talk about later on, are asleep during life on earth. That's why most human beings can't remember things that the physical brain has not witnessed, such as their past lives. Most of us have many unpleasant things in the spiritual baggage that are better left forgotten, otherwise we would be unable to evolve due to the strong feeling of guilt, and life on earth would probably be even more difficult than it already is. An important issue is that we live short lives. We use this forgetfulness to evolve in a certain perspective. But what about a being who lives for billions of years? Believe it or not, according to Jan Val Ellam, many beings in this universe live billions of years. So, let's try to take it from the beginning. Before this or any other universe was created, there was what the Kardecist spiritual revelation calls the superior spirituality. And it makes sense, since nothing cannot create anything. Nothing comes from nothing. The Big Bang, the singularity, did not come up from nothing. Of course, there has to be something else that has always existed. Once again, according to Jan Val Ellam, within this superior spirituality there are constant processes of creation. Whenever a creation occurs, like the singularity that brought the so-called Big Bang, this superior spirituality gets shielded. This shield is created through a quantum collapse to protect the superior spirituality of any type of contamination that may arise from some creation. Using a reference from the Brahmanda myth, let's call this singularity that generated the creation of our universe, the cosmic egg. From this cosmic egg, three things came up. 1. Our physical universe, let's call it Baloka. 2. The universe of antimatter, let's call it Brahmaloka. And 3. A portion of the Creator that created the cosmic egg, in the first place, let's call it Brahma. The name of Brahma may change, but many mythologies of ancient cultures claim that our Big Bang came about this way. Religions have distorted this history. Other names of the creator of this cosmic egg are Yahweh or Jehovah, Allah, Chaos, Pangu, among several others. Brahma is the one used in the Hindu tradition. Vishnu and Shiva are the other two gods of the Hindu Trimurti, and we will talk about all three of them along this video. The inevitable encounter with this face of reality and with the entities that produced it is a matter of time, and there will be many encounters after the first official one. The subject covered in this video is of extreme importance so that we can reflect on who we are, who God is, if He exists, where we come from, why we are on Earth to this day without knowing officially if aliens exist, and how our situation looks after what the Bible calls the final judgment. So, moving on, the only being that existed in the cosmic egg, when it was created, was a fallen part of the Creator himself. Let's not confuse this entity with God. If there is a God, it must be above all of this. Life first appeared in the Brahmaloka, which is the anti-material universe, from clones engendered by the Creator after he managed to rebuild himself. We will better tell this story along this video, but Jan Val Ellam says it took about 500 million years for the Creator to start creating other cloned beings. Before the first generations of clones were created, the only spirit that was in some way conveyed to this creation was the one of Brahma. Using human expressions, it is as if his spirit fainted in superior spirituality, while a mental portion was shielded within the cosmic egg, more precisely within the Brahmaloka, trying to rebuild himself, trying to understand what was going on. The cosmic egg was created in a problematic way. It was not supposed to be like that. The first spirits that jumped into the cosmic egg were not simple and ignorant spirits, like the ones that would appear later on. They were spirits who decided to plunge into this creation to help the fallen Creator. It was a kind of divine favor. What father or mother would not do the same to rescue a son or a daughter? They dove in for love. The clones created by Brahma, as well as other species that emerged inside the Brahmaloka, simply live long lives. Billions of years. What we call angels are in fact clones of Brahma. The concept of an angel is ingrained in all earthly religions, as well as the concept of God and demons. To understand the information in Jan Val Ellam's books, we need to reread the meaning of these expressions. There was a time, before the religions, where these concepts were much closer to the cosmic reality. Ancient cultures believed there were good and bad angels, good and bad gods, good and bad demons. The clones of Brahma were mostly robotized, and only a few have managed to evolve enough to free themselves from the imprisonment of their own bodies. Their abilities to reason were and still are limited by the desires of Brahma, and they basically live to serve their Creator's commands. Brahma should not be judged by us as being good or bad, and nor any of the species that live in the Brahmaloka. Whatever they are, it is completely different from the biological beings that emerged much later, billions and billions of years later, inside the material universe that we are calling Baloka. Brahma did not always create his clones in an intentional and planned way. Especially in the beginning, he saw himself as a conscious being but who commanded several scattered parts. These parts later evolved and became the so-called angels, acting under his command, trying to organize the environment of the Brahmaloka. After the first billions of years had passed, one of these clones made a move against Brahma's will and assaulted him. It was the first time Brahma realized there was another consciousness working side by side with him in his creation. Let's call Shiva this aggressor clone. Shiva was at first a clone of Brahma who dove into this universe out of love for the Creator. But inside the creation, the only way for him to exist was to occupy one of these bodies that we are calling clones. It was only over time that the spirit of Shiva was able to perform its own action, which was precisely to attack Brahma, so that he would stop creating other generations of problematic beings. For Brahma, it was like his hand decided to punch him in the head. Until then, this concept of the other for him did not exist. And for millennia he reorganized himself to annihilate the aggressor clone. When Brahma finally succeeded, there arose the first being that we can classify as a demon in this creation. The spirit of Shiva resurfaced within Brahma's Brahmaloka as the first demon and started to dispute with Brahma over the control of the universe. Demon here only means a different kind of being if compared to the clones. It does not mean good or bad, as we have already said. The communication was a problem since then, and apparently, the only way to fix this creation was to face Brahma in a dispute. Brahma never really understood that Shiva was trying to help him fix the creation, or at least finish it without creating even bigger problems. So, we must understand that Shiva was a clone who became a demon, but could only do so by losing his clone body, which Brahma destroyed. To make things worse, Shiva's spirit had a lot of difficulties to communicate with Shiva, just like today our spirit has a lot of difficulties to communicate with our transitory personalities. As we have mentioned, the demon body was, and still is, different from the clones. Shiva created several generations of demons to be able to obey his commands just like Brahma did. And so, Shiva tried to keep up a dispute with Brahma and his clones. And all of this happened in the Brahmaloka. As much as they had tried, Brahma and Shiva realized in the midst of their disputes that they could not completely destroy one another, and so they kept on disputing until a third being emerged in the creation from the descendants of Shiva. Let's call this being Vishnu. Vishnu did not emerge as a robotic clone of Brahma. He emerged as a demon of Shiva, and this made it easier for him to free his mind from Brahma and as well from Shiva. Vishnu also had amazing powers and also created many generations of demons. Brahma and Shiva disputed with each other for a long time, but Vishnu never really acted in these terms. He was different. Vishnu never submitted his agenda to Brahma's or Shiva's will. At this point, they sliced the Brahmaloka, so they could live together, and each generation of clones and demons began to inhabit a specific loka, specially developed within the Brahmaloka. Each one of the three gods had its own loka or sets of lokas, and also each generation had its own lokas. By the way, the meaning of loka would be abode. We could use the word genos or realms to represent the same idea. What we can call lila is another term in Sanskrit which means the play of disputes and bets of these three entities. The lila started at this point and lasted until around the year 2016 according to Jan Val Ellam's revelations. The story of how the lila stopped will be analyzed at another moment. While the confusing reality of the lila was going on inside the Brahmaloka, in the Baloka, only the generations of stars were succeeding and producing complex chemical elements, but there was still no life. The first of these chemical elements in the Baloka was the hydrogen. From the succession of stars that were born and died, the other elements that we know today started arising. Only in the third generation of stars the heaviest chemical elements that make up the planets and our biological bodies begin to emerge, and this took about 5 billion years. When, after about 7.7 billion years of disputes, these demons realized that they all failed and that the Brahmaloka also failed, the three most powerful ones decided that it was time to create someone else, who could possibly formulate a strategy for them to move on. They created someone that Jan Val Ellam refers to as Mohenso, and that was when what Ellam calls the TLM project began to be idealized and put into practice. We will talk more about the TLM project in other videos. For now, let's just mention that the TLM project was the strategy that made emerge the biological beings in the Baloka and further intensified the traffic of spirits between superior spirituality and this problematic creation. Until the TLM project, there existed Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu, and their clones and demons' offspring. There was no life in the Baloka. We hope you enjoyed this exploration of Jan Val Ellam's work and the impact it has on our journey. If you would like to continue to learn more about his books, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and share the video too. Thank you for watching.